Welcome to the June class for making the most of your die cutting machines here at 2pieceinAbucket.com. What we're looking at here are just a few of the projects I made with the techniques or tips that I'm going to share with you in the video. The video isn't going to be a step-by-step necessarily of how to create the projects, but more of a look at all the things you can do with the Sizzix Big Shot die cutting machine and how you create these cut these different mediums that I'm showing you here, like felt and grungeboard, as well as paper, and using some of the different mediums and dies available for the Sizzix Big Shot. The first thing I'm going to share with you is an overview of the machine. This is a Sizzix Big Shot. They also have, this is a manual die cutting machine. They do have the Express, which is an electronic one. I am not as familiar with that, but I know there are a lot of great tutorials available online. It works basically the same, except that it feeds it through and you don't have to manually turn the lever. It comes with a couple of cutting pads, and then this is the multi-purpose platform. It has a couple different tabs, and it gives you step-by-step instructions for creating the different sandwiches for cutting different mediums, both for Sizzix die cuts and for other brands or manufacturers of die cuts. So this machine really does it all for you. I can't say enough good things about it. This is my personal favorite of the manual die cutting machines, just because it cuts those steel rule dies and it gives you so many more options as far as creating and taking your crafting beyond just paper crafting. My favorite feature, the first one, is that you can cut through multiple sheets of cardstock with one turn with a steel rule die. This one I'm showing you is the ornamental alterations die from Holtz, and I'm going to cut, I think, 6 sheets or 6 labels at once. And what you do is lay down one of your cutting mats, put your die face up, lay your paper on top of it. In this case, I did put 6 sheets just to show you that if you're creating make and takes or projects or doing a multiple cards or something for a project, how easy it is to die cut these. Lay your other cutting mat on top and then run it through your machine. And you can see that it's cut out right there. One pass of the machine and you have cut out a whole bunch of labels. I think that's fabulous and fantastic, and I love, love, love that about the Sizzix steel rule dies. So now I have a whole bunch of labels that I can do anything with. And one example, I think I used it on the purple card with the butterfly. I stamped it all up and used distress ink on it and used it on a card. So that was my first tip. My second one is that with the steel rule dies, you can cut through grungeboard, which is a lot like chipboard. It's a product made by Holtz. And of course it works perfect with his alterations dies and things like that, but you can see there it is really thick. That is something that you could not cut with other kinds of dies and die cutting machines. The Sizzix, you place one of your cutting mats down, your steel rule die, the grungeboard, and then your other cutting mat, and run it through. And I'm using the Elegant Flourishes alterations die by Holtz. And you can see here that it cut out those flourishes beautifully. I mean, perfect with one pass of the machine. I really love that. And look at all the detail on those and how great it cut those out. I also used this on the butterfly card. I just painted it with some paint and then put it on my card. My third favorite tip, and I ended up not using these on any project. I guess I just forgot, but I will do that the next time I have a Sizzix class. I'm using just some stars die. It's a die I had already. It is by Sizzix. And again, the sandwich for this is your cutting mat, your steel rule die, and then I just have some clear plastic sheets. They do have the protective film on them, but it really is clear. You just have to peel off that film. It kind of has a blue sheen to it, but you can see that's really thick medium right there. I just need to trim it down a little bit to go through the machine. And then I'm going to lay that right on top of my die, add the other cutting mat, and then I'll just roll it through the machine. And you can make all kinds of clear accents this way. I've done all kinds of different things using this same technique, but super easy. You couldn't cut these with other die cutting machines. You really need the steel rule dies to cut through some plastic sheet like that. You can see how thick they are. And again, I would have to peel off that protective stuff and they would be clear. They have that blue hint to them, but they really are clear. My fourth favorite tip, and might be my absolute favorite, is with these steel rule dies, and you can see this is a really old die. It's red. It's one of their original steel rule dies. You can cut through felt. I love this for home decor projects, you know, anything. You could do so many things with this. Apparel, all kinds of things. Anyway, same sandwich as before with any of the steel rule dies, cutting mat, your die, your medium, and then the cutting mat on top. And I have a perfect heart right there. And I use this for the apron that you project that I share here in my class. So I cut out a whole bunch of these hearts out of different colors of felt and then machine stitched them to my apron. Really easy, didn't take any time at all. My fifth favorite tip is Sizzix has embossing folders that are big enough that they emboss the entire front of the card. There are lots of great embossing folders out there, but I'm always frustrated that they don't quite cover the front of a standard size card. With the Sizzix embossing folders, that isn't the case. They fill the entire front of your card, super easy. I'm just lining it up here. For the purple butterfly card that I have an example of this month, this is how I did it. I just used the dots embossing folder. And then you're going to lay your Sizzix impressions pad and then the silicone rubber pad on top of your embossing folder and run it through on the multi-purpose platform on tab number 1. And it gives you instructions for that sandwich right on the tab. And look at that. Emboss the entire front of the card, no trimming needed. I absolutely love that. My next favorite tip is you can use all of those great embossing folders that you already have using the same platform tab and the same steps as I showed before with the Sizzix embossing folder. This is a Cuttlebug embossing folder. I'm just using a white card here and a houndstooth embossing folder, and I'm going to run that through. And I used this card for the little couch card sample shown at the beginning of the video. So I'm just going to line that up. But as you can see that the designs on the Cuttlebug ones don't go all the way across, so I will trim this card a little bit to get rid of anything that did not emboss. Super easy, you just run it right through your machine, and I love that on the platform it gives you step-by-step instructions for creating the sandwich for everything. And look at that, perfectly embossed. So this machine really does it all. It doesn't just do Sizzix products. I love that. My next favorite tip. You can use other brands of dies with the Big Shot and not just paper. For example, you take your multi-purpose platform and then you lay on a cutting mat. Then I have these nesting leaves dies from Quickutz, and I really like these. They come in a nice, there's like a big, medium, and a small, and the large and the medium are perfect. I think they're just a little bit on the larger side, and they would make great page or card accents. But in this particular case, I am die cutting them out of felt, which also would be great in your scrapbooking or card making. But I wanted to make a home decor project where I sewed them to some material and made a pillow cover. So I'm just sandwiching that, running it through, and you can see that it's cut the leaves perfectly. So simple and so easy, and it cut through that. It felt like nothing. I love that. It will also cut like the Papertrey Ink dies. They have a whole bunch of these steel dies that they've created to coordinate with their stamp sets. And what you'll do is take your multi-purpose platform, a cutting mat, the die, in this case I'm using a little couch, and then I'm going to take some white cardstock that I'm using to cut it from, and then you will lay on your other cutting mat and run it through the machine. Again, very easy. I love that these dies are made and will coordinate with the Sizzix. No additional die cutting machine needed, and perfect little die cut that I can stamp up and adhere to my card. Also works with your Cuttlebug dies and embossing folders as shown before. However, on this particular case, I'm going to be using a die and embossing folder combo. And this is a butterfly, and I'm going to use tab 1 again, I believe. And I'm going to lay my cutting mat down, lay the Cuttlebug die down, my paper over it, and the cutting pad on top of that, and just roll that through my machine. If at any time you start to roll something through your machine and it just won't go, do not push it. It means something, the sandwich isn't quite right, and you definitely don't want to break down the gears or anything in your machine. You just might need to readjust some of your layers. I've die cut my butterfly now. Now I want to emboss it. This particular one comes with, different designs to emboss the die cut. And I'm just going to use a little dotted one to make the butterfly have some texture. And just like before when I was embossing the background with the background embossing folders, you use the same steps as that. You'll use tab 1, you'll lay the embossing folder with the paper right on that, put your impressions pad on it, your silicone rubber pad on top of that, and roll it through your machine, and it will emboss perfectly. So now I have a butterfly accent that I can ink up and add to my card. You can see the embossed texture there. My next thing is die cutting fabric. It's a really hot trend right now, all the layered flowers and ruffles and things on t-shirts. And I have this scallop circle die cut. It has a couple different sizes of scallop circles on it, or steel rule die, pardon me. And I cut several pieces of red tulle, and then I bought 2 red t-shirts for my daughter. They were $4 each at my local discount store, and I just cut up one of them so that I could have a tone-on-tone look for this t-shirt that I made her. So the first thing I'm going to do is I took that whole stack of tulle, and it was quite a bit, but it's pretty thin, and I'm just going to run it through my machine and cut out a whole bunch of these scallop circles to make some flowers for her t-shirt. And you can see that it's cut them out. The tulle's kind of hard to see, but it cut out all of them. So now I'm just going to take several layers of this t-shirt that I cut up at once and run them through. I don't have to run it through individually or anything like that. I can just take a stack of them and cut out a whole bunch of flowers at once. So here I've got several. I made this t-shirt from start to finish in less than 15 minutes. So now I'm just going to kind of make my little flowers, put my flowers together and pin them to the t-shirt before I machine stitch them on. And I just did it like in layers of 4, where I put the t-shirt material, a layer of tulle, a layer of the t-shirt material, and another layer of tulle, I think. And then I just machine stitched it. Very easy, and it turned out super cute. My daughter asked if I would make more of these. She liked it so much, and for $8, it was a really cheap cheap little t-shirt, but very trendy and cute. So I'm just going to continue to pin those on. And then to machine stitch them, I just kind of went back and forth. I didn't do anything fancy at all. I saw that on a store somewhere and I thought that was a cute idea. My next favorite tip is that you can emboss thicker mediums like Grungeboard with the embossing, the Texture Fades embossing folder. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these styled labels. It's an Alterations die by Tim Holtz, and you can see that you can add, these are the movers and shapers, I believe, and you can take these little keyholes and things and run it through, or pardon me, they're magnetic. They'll go inside any of the dies that look like this. You can position them however you want, and it will cut out that little keyhole shape. So for this one, I'm going to use a piece of Grungeboard and run that through my machine first before I emboss this Grungeboard. So I'm just getting all that situated there. This is a really fun idea because you could have these labels, you know, solid, or you can cut out these cute little keyholes and things in them. It's a fun look. So for this one, I'm going to have the little keyhole thing. I need to pry that out. It kind of got stuck in there. And then I'm going to take, I believe, the Gridlock Texture Fades embossing folder, and I am just going to place that in my embossing folder. And then if you look at your multi-purpose platform, on the very back, if you go past tab 2 and tab 1, it says when using the textures or embossing folders with thick materials like chipboard, don't use tabs. So you want to use that very back thing with, or on your multi-purpose platform, that back platform with it, and you'll get a perfect impression. So that one right there, see the little red box? It tells you, you know, how to do it. My video cut out, sorry about that, so it's kind of, I missed part of my embossing. My next favorite tip is the On the Edge dies from Tim Holtz. You can get these cutting mats that are specifically for these On the Edge, and there are 2 designs on most of the On the Edge dies. This happens to be the scallop one. I used that couch die cut from Papertrey Ink that I die cut earlier, and I wanted to make a cute little scallop border on the top of it. So I'm just going to run that through my Big Shot and look at that cute little scallop, and it's kind of imperfect. I think it's so fun. So there's 2 different styles of scallops on that particular die. There's that solid one that I used, and then one that has a little cutout scallop. So you could use them together or separately, all kinds of different things. And I'm going to do the same thing for this teal piece of cardstock that I'm going to mat my stamped piece on. So I'm just going to run that right back through my machine the other way, and then I'll just trim that up and add that to my card. It's just a really fun look. For more ideas and information on how I created the projects seen here, please visit 2peasinabucket.com. Thanks for watching.